New features in Monterey. I'm sure you've heard of many of these. Increased security, software update, erase all kinds. These are all the things we're going to be talking about today. But wait, there's more. Shortcuts, hide my mail, iCloud private relay, live text, and FaceTime. So let's get into it. We're going to increase in security around PAM with Monterey, but not that PAM. Tom.
Yeah, so the Apple has made some changes around the security of the environment, and if you're an Apple admin, you've got no shortage of understanding of things like the new methodology that Apple has chosen over the last 3 or 4 years to protect certain parts of the operating system. This year, the Etsy /Etsy/pam.d folder was added to the protected area of the system, where either you need a privacy preferences policy control policy for anything that touches that space. Why is that important? Well, how many different organizations actually do some interesting things here? If you've ever set your touch bar having Mac to use your Touch ID credential as part of the the pseudo privileges, for example, you've messed around in /Etsy/pam.d. And so now Apple wants you to make sure that anything that is changed inside those folders is user approved. And so as related to that, there were obviously some changes that were required there on JumpCloud's side of the line, where essentially you need to make sure that JumpCloud has permissions to operate in those spaces. And so if you've been using JumpCloud for mobile device management, you've already been granted those permissions. But if you're combining JumpCloud with Jamf or Mosel or MobileIron or Workspace ONE, whatever you have, you need to update your privacy preferences policy control policies to include some different pieces that are there. There's there's a KBase article that JumpCloud wrote with a sample profile that you can use to do those kind of things. But this was the biggest change in security in terms of existing mechanisms. That Apple expanded the gatekeeper modules and expanded the ability to actually touch individual files on the system across a couple of different platforms. So I think that's the biggest change in the increase in security around pluggable access. So I always get them confused, right? It's pluggable authentication modules and permissive access management. And the latter gives you nuclear weapons and the former lets you log into your computer. So they're all the same thing, right?
Exactly. Bradley, you have anything to add on that?
I think that the key thing to remember here, and obviously now it doesn't matter, but we knew these changes were coming, and this is what the summer beta period is for, and this is one of the things you really should have been looking at and talking to your vendors about. And I think obviously, like something we covered when Big Sur was released, MDM, this approved way is the only really way going forward to manage Apple devices. And this is the kind of stuff where, had you been stuck on a legacy system, you might have been in a really big world of hurt. What you really don't want is a situation to where you've got 1,000 remote employees and you go to new version of macOS and everything just falls apart. So again, these are the kind of things like next summer, pay attention to updates around these things, and this is where your testing comes into play.
And looking at that, this was a late breaking change in the cycle. This was not in betas 1, 2, and 3. This was an arrival in beta 4. And so this was a late breaking update for Apple. So this is why it's important not just to test at the beginning of the cycle and the end of the cycle, because you miss all that time in between. But here at JumpCloud, we're obviously testing all the time to make sure that our agent can handle the new version of the operating system. It's a big part of making sure that we've got day one support for macOS Monterey.
Great, thanks, guys. Is there anything that the admin should be aware of before they update? Should they?
I mean, obviously, having some sort of policy available to your individual Macs ahead of arrival is certainly very, very important. However, you can do it after the fact as well. It's just a matter of assigning a certain MDM profile to a specific set of devices.
And I believe we have a KBase article on that.
We do, and it's in the resources slide at the end of this presentation.
Excellent.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.